Hello and welcome to the Forces Sports Show, a roundup of the best action and biggest stories from across the services, coming up in today's show. Former boxing star Steve Collins helps the RMP stage their first ever boxing event. The countdown continues to this year's Invictus Games. The wait is almost over. And the England Lionesses meet the pride of the RAF. The Royal Military Police had some powerful inside help as they staged their first ever boxing match. They were able to call upon one of their own, who just happens to be former WBO middleweight and super middleweight champion Steve Collins. Displaying courage and combining physical and mental discipline, members of 4 Regiment Royal Military Police made sure the first ever RMP boxing match went off with a bang. So, as some struggled with an exit strategy, others seemed more confident with making their entrance. A mixed male and female card proved popular, but nearly all of those taking to the ring were making their competitive boxing debuts. One of those who'd helped make this event happen, bolstering confidence in the novice boxers, was Steve Collins. The former WBO middleweight and super middleweight champion is now a Lance Corporal in the RMP Reserves. Known as the Celtic Warrior in his fighting days, Dublin-born Collins was delighted to be involved.
I think what I bring to the table is I have experience and a bit of knowledge. And the important thing is that, when I talk to them, they believe me, they listen to me. So that's important. They have faith in what I say. So if I try and pass on some instruction or coaching to them, they pay attention and they listen to what I have to say because my previous career, they have faith in my advice.
So what was it then that sort of drew you to the military, becoming a reservist? Why would somebody in your position do that?
It's the militant lifestyle definitely appeals to me, and my career was very militant. I honestly believe if I probably hadn't gone on as a professional boxer, I probably would have joined the military. It's a lifestyle that appeals to me, the militant lifestyle, the discipline. It keeps me fit, keeps me young, keeps me focused, and I'm enjoying it.
Do you enjoy giving a little bit back?
It's nice to give something back. I've had a great experience. I've had a good life, and I've gained some good times and good knowledge in boxing. And it's nice to pass it on to young lads, young lasses like today. I mean, all of these kids fighting today, they're pure novices. Some of them have never stepped inside a ring up until a couple of weeks ago. And the progress and the enthusiasm has come on so much. And I'm really looking forward to the show, and I hope it goes really well.
Having Collins in their corner clearly inspired the rookies in the ring. Shane Green from 156 Provost Company got the better of Lewis Maguire. The Essex-based Lance Corporal believes there is a bright future for RMP boxers.
Absolutely fantastic, it's brilliant. I mean, he's such a down-to-earth guy. Obviously, he's got all this experience, which he's helped impart onto us. He's just walked us through it. He's a star. He's an absolute star.
Do you think that the RMP are sort of the envy of the other units now that you've got somebody like that around who can coach?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I mean, obviously, boxing's a lot bigger in all the other cap badges, but to have Steve Collins backing us, this is the start, I think, of something that's going to continue going forward, definitely.
Another who impressed with their glove work was Jamie Stevens. He put Alex Bovington sprawling on the canvas to win his maiden fight by a knockout, much to his colleagues' delight. The Lance Corporal now aims to continue with the sport. You've won by a knockout. You've been working with Steve Collins, a two-weight world champion. What next for you?
Well, me and some of the other boys at boxing have been talking about we're going to carry it on after the event goes on. So we're going to join a local gym and carry on the boxing so we get more into the unit as well.
So, on a successful occasion for the boxers and an enjoyable one for those watching, organisers hope more members of the RMP will make their way to the ring in seasons to come. The 4th Invictus Games gets underway in Australia this weekend. Before jetting off to Sydney, the 72 athletes competing for the UK team have been getting in some final training. For the powerlifters, that meant shifting plenty of heavy metal.
Stop.
It's amazing, when you do lift something, it just makes you feel really strong inside, even though you might not feel quite strong, emotionally. When you lift something, it makes you feel amazing, and you get a real good buzz from it.
Press.
I tried to go to a commercial gym, so I joined one in January. But every time I went to go over to the weight section, I got too nervous because it was just literally full of loads of guys. I felt really intimidated. So somebody from the Invictus on my training camp mentioned this club, and I came down here and I absolutely love it. It really is like it's like a little family.
Press. We're like an old-fashioned gym. We pride ourselves on being friendly. We've got some great lifters, you know, some great weightlifters, some great powerlifters. They all get looked after. We want it to be a place where people get better at any level. And I think we achieve that. You can talk to any of our lifters and you know, it's a great gym. It ain't a good gym, it's a great gym.
The heaviest I've ever lifted has been 40 kilos, so we're trying to get me to lift like 37 kilos, kind of try and do more reps of that to try and get above 40. We have the start, command, press and rack. And it's really important to practice that as well, because when you get really nervous, like in a competition, if you miss the commands, you're going to fail a lift. So it's important to get them to become second nature.
Press. Forget the weights, right? The first thing is how much more confident she is. You know, when she first come in here, she was a little bit inside herself, because, you know, it's difficult for anybody. You come into a place like this, you don't know what it's like. You know, there's a few rough diamonds up here, etc., etc., etc. But everybody gets treated well. All the other lifters treat her with respect. They don't overdo it. You know, she gets treated the same way as everybody else, and she's just become part of it.
It's about looking back where I've come from and thinking that, you know, seeing my recovery journey and how far I've come and how much more confident I am now than I was before. Recently, I've realised in my training, sometimes I can do more than I think I'm capable of. So my coaches have really shown that, and they believe in me. And I'm just trying to think that I can transfer that to everyday life. So when there's a situation and I think I can't do something, I have to believe that I can.
Okay, the first athlete I worked with was Dave Hansen. That was all the way back in 2014, and we're still working together, so I still coach Dave. Another athlete was Luke Sinnott. He mainly does long jump now, but he in Orlando last year, in Toronto, I think he won quite a few medals in the athletics. With Abby, it's incredible to see her. I've been working with her since June. She's come such a long way. She's done about 10 races already, and her confidence just grew with every race. And just for the athletes to see their potential, actually, that they can do things. Quite often they don't know actually how good they are or how much they can push themselves. Last 50 meters, come on. Push, 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 push. To the finishing line, push. Nice, 1.5 minutes. Sprinting is extremely technical. Most people probably think it's just running 100 meters in a straight line, but it's actually extremely technical. So what we do is we're breaking down the technical elements into slow drills, and then hopefully later on the track, those drills will be, muscle memory will take over and it becomes fluid and natural.
So I got my name down for 100, 200, 400 for the sprints. I used to go running when I was in the military, maybe go doing a 5k 2 or 3 times a week, but just kind of jogging. So I'd never done sprinting in my life before. I just absolutely love running and doing something outdoors. You're going somewhere, like on a track, or you're doing something, and I just think they say like you get happy endorphins from doing exercise. I get really nervous when I race. You think, why am I putting myself through this? But at the end of it, I'm so proud of myself for doing it, and I kind of want to do it again. So it's a good feeling to have.
The Army swimming season is underway as teams took to the pool for the Inter-Unit Championships. The competition gave athletes the opportunity to bid for a place on the Army team.
Take your marks.
Swimmers from across the Army enjoyed the chance to compete for early season silverware in Aldershot. As always, races featured a high-class field with several of last year's Army team eager to earn a place on the squad this time around, bidding to take part in the Inter-Services Championships. With unit pride at stake, others were also giving it their all. The Army women have dominated the other two services over 2 decades. In recent years, the form of Army star swimmer Kath Baker helped them to success over their forces rivals. she was again proving tough to beat. The Blandford-based athlete enjoyed a strong season last time out, finishing in the top 10 at the British Championships.
It was a really good experience. I was quite daunted at first because there's some very good swimmers there, but I held it all together and I managed to compete the best that I could.
As well as her exploits in the pool, Baker was part of an Army team that completed swimming the Channel in September.
I just wanted a challenge, that's what persuaded me to do it. I was very nervous because I'm a bit scared of the sea, but I got all the courage and I managed to do it, and now I want to do it myself as a solo. So I'm hoping that I can do that within a year or so.
Meanwhile, in the men's events, Luke Conder reignited his rivalry with James Gibson. The pair have helped form the backbone of the Army men's squad. But with Gibson enjoying time in triathlon, Conder has maintained his focus purely on the pool. The Lance Corporal from One Rifles admits this tournament allows him to scope out future Army opponents.
It's a great moment to see what sort of swimmers are coming up. I mean, at the end of the day, it is the beginning of the season. We have got intercalls, inter-service coming up. So it's a good site just to see, what do I need to work on, what's the competition going to be like, etc. So it is a good start, really.
It was Conder who enjoyed the better of the results this time out, but over the course of the season, the pair will continue to spur each other on. For Army head coach Gary Mitchell, the talent in the pool provided plenty of encouragement. The Inter-Services title has eluded the Army men for some time, but they are closing the gap on the Navy and Air Force.
Last year, it was a point, and we're talking fractions of a second between glory and defeat, and unfortunately for us, it was 1 point the wrong way.
Of course, you've got the likes of Luke Conder, James Gibson's been around for a few years, but you want to add to that nucleus of strength?
Certainly do, and I think some of the guys I've seen today are going to bring some more strength to the team. Comparing it with the database I've got, we could be looking at medal winners next year.
With more quality athletes coming through, benefiting from the top coaching, the Army are confident they will turn into Forces winners. The England Lionesses have had a busy week, including a 1-0 win over Brazil and a 1-1 draw with Australia. Two of the squad still found time to visit RAF High Wycombe as part of the station's Sport Empowerment Week. They met with various guests, including the RAF women's football team manager and captain, as Kath Brazier reports.
Air Command can boast an impressive entrance, but it's unlikely they've had England legends playing a casual game of keepy-uppy in front of the Spitfire before. Even the station commander got involved. Laura Bassett with 63 caps and Rachel Unit with 102 have been playing with the national side since the early 2000s. And in this time they've witnessed a significant shift in women's football.
I think just to be really, really passionate about it, keep putting on opportunities, whether that's walking football, whether it's 5-a-side or 11-a-side. There's loads of different, football doesn't have to be your typical 11-a-side fixtures, or it can be in lots of different ways, shapes and forms. But in any way that we can get any females and women involved in it, it might be that they're the manager or the coach, or that they're media and social media. It could be any role within women's sport, but you really have to let them know the opportunities that they are there if they did want to get involved.
The hope, of course, is that their success at an international and club level filters down to the grassroots, and somewhere along that scale is military representative football.
The single service representative teams are elite level single service sport, and we run our camps as elite sort of athlete schemes every time we meet up. So we would probably be running similar camps at a similar sort of standard, but obviously the level of player is much different. But the fact that the girls are able to encourage and recommend that we play civilian football only really enhances us as a service, because not only does it get civilian and Air Force or military people combining, it also enhances all of those things that sport brings, which is resilience, values, teamwork, ethics, all those sort of things. So we've got it for the RAF ladies rep team, but actually anyone can go and play civilian sport, whether it's football or anything else, at any level, and enhance those qualities. So absolutely, an advocate of football, but sport in general.
As well as showing off their skills at the front gate, Laura and Rachel also gave a presentation about their personal journeys in sport and what they hope for the future.
They can grow a lot of experience and take their experience outside and vice versa and learn a lot. There's a lot of transferable lessons that can, when there's, you know, if you're going to take your training and your football even more seriously, you'll reap the benefits. So if you start looking after your health, nutrition, your physio, your body will look after you and perform a little bit better, and I think then you'll enjoy it a little bit more and be a better teammate from that. So there's lots of transferable, so I definitely recommend that.
Not playing internationally anymore, Rachel has had a dramatic career change and is now a full-time firefighter. Laura, meanwhile, is 31 weeks pregnant, so her England duty is on hold for now. But both women reckon the Lionesses have what it takes to make the World Cup final in 2019.
I think England now are the team to beat, so I think we got great potential, and I think we can go on and win it.
That will be held in France next summer. For the RAF women, the football season is just ramping up, with their biggest challenge, the Inter-Services, coming up in March.
She's only been on the Army boxing team a year, but Tori Ellis-Willits has already made a big impression. The young gunner has been called up to train with Team GB in Sheffield. Forces fighter Tori Ellis-Willits will soon swap the surroundings of the Army boxing gym in Aldershot for the Team GB headquarters in Sheffield. It's a significant step in the Birmingham-born boxer's career, with her sights set on competing at the Olympic Games. At just 23, Willits has only been boxing for 5 years, but a season on the Army boxing squad made sure she was spotted by the Great Britain selectors. Now she will train with the nation's best to determine who goes to Japan.
Tokyo 2020 is in 2 years' time. I don't see why I can't push myself to get to there anyway. I'm going to try my hardest, that's all I can say really.
Yeah, so when you get to Sheffield, you'll probably be up against your rivals for that vest for Tokyo 2020. Who are they, and what do you have to do to them to make sure that you are on the plane to Tokyo?
Well, obviously there's Lisa Whiteside, who won a Commonwealth Games. She's number 1 at the moment. The Ebony Jones, who's also in the Army, and she's going to be doing 51 kilos as well. And then Chloe Watson. So there's a couple to compete against, but just going to do what I can.
Yeah, of course. Does it make it harder or easier, the fact that you may have to go toe-to-toe with Ebony?
Obviously, she's a friend and she's on the same Army team as us. It will be difficult, but it is what it is. It's boxing at the end of the day. Everyone's got to, wants to get to the top, and you've got to do what you can to get there, I'm afraid.
You've always had that Olympic dream, so this is, as you say, a realistic ambition for you.
Yeah, well, I set out goals for this year to get ABAs, GBs, and have GB assessments. So I've achieved all of those, and then the main goal was to get on GB, which I didn't think would happen this year, but it has. And then the biggest dream is the Olympics, so I'm aiming as high as I can.
An injury to her hand has delayed her departure to Sheffield. In the meantime, she's making the most of the first-class facilities the Army offer. For this young gunner, the military have played a pivotal role as she goes about realising her sporting dreams.
As soon as I finished my training at the Royal Artillery in Phase 2, I did speak to my BSM and told him that what my aim was to do, and he fully supported me, pushed me towards it, and he said, if that's what you want to do, then that's what we'll get you, we'll support you all the way. And they've done everything they can to make sure that I was here straight away and release me as soon as possible, really.
With her own ability and self-belief, plus the Army's backing, Willits is doing all she can to get her shot at Olympic glory. RAF personnel have been enjoying life in the fast lane at Silverstone. They were hosted by the Light Blues motorsport team, who are training ahead of their competition, which is taking place in the next few weeks. Amy Wiltshire was there.
It's a sport that many would be too scared to try, but for those with the need for speed, it's perfect. And on the track today are adrenaline-fueled RAF personnel who fancy a taste of what the motorsport world has to offer.
I've grown up around cars. My dad's got a lot of classic and vintage cars, so I've sort of been in that environment since birth, sort of thing. But I've not really had a chance to be out on the track and sort of go faster on tracks. But it's a good opportunity to have. It's not one perhaps get outside of forces. If you do it at Civvy Street, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So it's a good privilege to have this today.
It's really good experience. I'd love to become a rally driver one day, eventually. The driver that took me out said there's very few sort of female rally drivers, so it would be good to be sort of one of the first female rally drivers out there. Yeah, definitely.
There are 3 RAF branded cars on track which are taking part in the Inter-Services race at the end of the month. For the drivers involved, it's been great to have a practice out on the course and also to encourage their passengers to become the RAF rally drivers of the future.
We're forever trying to encourage people to start racing because it's an opportunity which, you know, in civilian street you can do it, but it's very, very expensive, and we are very, very fortunate we do get an amount of subsidy, which just helps. So it's while we can try and recruit people into the team, that's great for us.
It's been a fun day out for all, but it's also given them a taster of what their RAF career could look like in the fast lane.
And that is it for this week. Don't forget you can see all the action as we get it on forces.net and this show and more on YouTube. We'll leave you with more action from the first ever Royal Military Police boxing match. We'll see you next time. Bye.